The sound of dripping water echoed through the old metal hallway. Everything was dark, cold, and full of dust. Rust covered the walls like old blood. Two alien women lay on the floor, barely moving. Zara opened her eyes first. She was tall, with gray skin and bright yellow eyes. She touched her head and felt blood. Beside her, Valari groaned in pain. Valari was smaller, with blue scales and glowing red hair. Her arm was broken and her breathing was slow. "Where are we?" Valari whispered, her voice dry like sand. Zara looked around. The room was strange, made of old human metal. Letters on the wall read, USRF Sector 9. Zara didn't understand what it meant. But she had heard stories of Earth, the dead planet. "We fell through the clouds," Zara said. "The gravity pulled us in." "Our ship is gone," Valari whispered. Zara nodded slowly. They were trapped under the surface of Earth. Inside, something old and forgotten. The silence was heavy. Valari cried softly. "We're going to die here." Zara put a hand on her shoulder. "We won't die without trying," she said. They stayed quiet for a moment, listening to the deep, dead sound of the metal place. Then they heard something. Footsteps, not metal steps, not alien steps. Human footsteps. Zara froze. Valari held her breath. The footsteps were slow, but heavy, coming closer, echoing through the hallway. "That's not possible," Valari said, shaking. "Humans are gone." Zara stood slowly, her body hurting. She reached for a metal pipe on the ground. Holding it like a weapon, the footsteps stopped. A shadow appeared at the end of the hall. Zara stepped in front of Valari, ready to fight, but the figure didn't move. It stood still, tall and broken-looking. A voice came from the shadow, "Old, rough, and dry aliens," it said. Zara didn't answer. The figure stepped closer. Now they saw him. He was human. Or something close. Half of his face was metal. One of his eyes glowed red. His right arm was robotic. His body was thin, like he hadn't eaten in years. But his presence was strong, like a soldier. "Name?" he said. Zara narrowed her eyes. "Zara of Kethrin." The human's eye scanned her. "Not a threat," he said. Then turned to Valari. "Species? Unknown. We're not here to fight." Zara said quickly. The man paused. He looked confused. "This place? It's been dead for 200 years. He touched a wall. Wires moved. Lights flickered. "I'm Sergeant Lewis," he said. "United Space Response Force." Valari stood up with Zara's help. "You're a human," she said. "But humans are extinct." Lewis smiled a little, but it was sad. Not extinct, just forgotten. A loud sound echoed behind them. Metal shifting, doors creaking. Lights turned on one by one. Red warning lights. A voice came from the ceiling. "Emergency? Alert energy spike detected." "What is that?" Zara asked. Lewis's face turned serious. "You woke the system," he said. "Now it will wake everything else." They followed Lewis as he walked fast through the corridors. He moved like a man who knew every step. The walls showed old posters. Smiling humans, war slogans, maps of Earth. This base was built during the last war. Lewis explained, "We fought back when aliens came. Did you win?" Valari asked. Lewis stopped walking. He looked at her with cold eyes. No one won. They entered a control room. Old computers flickered. Dust danced in the air like ghosts. Valari touched a console and it lit up. Zara looked at the main screen. It showed a map of the underground base and a blinking red dot. "What is that red signal?" Zara asked. Lewis didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "That's the vault." "What's inside the vault?" Valari asked. Lewis answered with only 2 words, "Project Revenant." The lights flickered again. Then, a loud sound, metal grinding. Something waking up, far below, behind many doors. Something was moving. something old, something dangerous. Zara tightened her grip on the pipe. Valari looked at Louis, fear in her eyes. Louis whispered, "You shouldn't be here." The base started shaking, and the human footsteps were no longer alone. The lights in the control room flickered like dying stars. Dust rose with every tremble of the floor. Valari held the edge of the console tightly, her blue fingers shaking. Zara stood beside her, pipe in hand, eyes fixed on Louis. He didn't blink, didn't speak. His glowing red eye stared at the blinking dot on the screen. The vault was awake, and whatever slept inside was not meant to wake again. "You need to leave," Louis finally said, his voice flat and low. Zara stepped forward. "We're trapped," she said. "There's nowhere to go." "There is," Louis replied, pointing to a hallway lit with red lights, maintenance tunnels, he added. "Old, narrow, unstable." Valari looked at him, confused. "Why help us?" she asked. "You don't know us?" Louis looked at her. "I've seen your kind before," he said. "Fought them. But you're different," he added, then looked at Zara. "You remind me of someone." Zara didn't ask who. She could see pain behind his metal eye, a memory buried deep like the vault below. They started walking. The hallways were tight, covered in wires and pipes. Some dripped with oil, some sparked with weak energy. Valari coughed as dust filled the air. Zara helped her walk, keeping the pipe ready. Louis led them with no fear, his steps exact, his movements sharp. As they walked, the base shook again. A strange sound echoed behind the walls, not footsteps, not metal, something else, like breathing, but bigger, deeper, colder. What was Project Revenant? Zara asked. Louis didn't turn back. He just said, "A mistake." They entered a room filled with old uniforms, human armor, rusted weapons, cracked helmets. Valari touched one helmet. Inside was a human skull. Still smiling, she stepped back. Quickly, "This place is a grave," she said. Louis nodded. "We tried everything to survive," he said, "including turning ourselves into things we couldn't control." He raised his robotic arm. This was just version 1. Zara frowned. "Why stay?" she asked. "Why didn't you escape?" Louis turned to face her. "There was nowhere to go," he said. "And someone had to watch the door." Suddenly, lights in the room turned blue. A siren blared, soft but urgent. "Vault containment breach, level 1 compromised," said the voice from above. Louis swore under his breath. "It's moving faster than expected." He rushed them into another tunnel, this one narrower, darker. The walls here were smoother, colder, newer. Zara noticed strange symbols along the sides. Not human, not alien, something else. "What is this place?" Valari asked. Louis didn't answer. Then they saw it, a large glass chamber, cracked and glowing from inside. Inside was a large tank filled with thick red liquid, and inside that, a shape, floating, silent. A human body, but wrong. Its arms were too long, its eyes were open, glowing white, its skin pale and full of scars. It didn't breathe, but it pulsed, alive, but not. "Subject 0, Louis said, his voice almost a whisper. Zara stared at it. This was a soldier. Louis nodded. "Our last weapon," he said, "built to win a war that had already ended." Suddenly, the body twitched. One eye moved. Then both, the liquid around it, began to bubble. "Back away!" Louis shouted, pulling them behind a barrier. A loud crack echoed as the tank shattered. Liquid splashed across the floor. Burning through metal like acid, the figure stepped out slowly, joints cracking, skin steaming. It looked at them, then spoke. Command accepted. It said in a voice not fully human. Enemies detected. It moved with terrifying speed. Louis fired his built-in pulse weapon. Hitting it in the chest, it stumbled, then smiled. A horrible smile. Zara threw a metal box at it, distracting it for a second. They ran, Valari screaming. Zara dragging her. Louis stayed back, shooting, shouting, holding it off. "I'll slow it down," he yelled. "Go north. Find the signal room." Zara hesitated, but she knew he was right. She nodded, grabbed Valari tighter, and ran. Behind her, she heard metal tearing, weapons firing, and a final scream. But it wasn't Louis, it was the creature. They ran through the tunnels. Breathing hard, the lights flickered again. Zara turned to Valari. "We're not just surviving," she said. "We're ending this," and ahead of them, the door to the signal room blinked green. Still waiting, after all these years, for someone to return. The green light above the door blinked softly. Zara stared at it, breathing hard, her muscles burning. Valari leaned on her. Weak, but still moving, they had escaped the thing. For now, the hallway was cold. Walls humming with buried power. Something deep inside the base had come alive. Something old, angry, and forgotten. Zara reached for the control panel beside the door. It scanned her hand but rejected her. "Access denied. This door only opens for humans," Valari said, reading the faded screen. Zara stepped back, thinking fast. Her eyes landed on something in the corner, a small handprint scanner. Covered in dust, she wiped it clean. "Maybe Louis had a backup," she said. Zara pulled a small knife from her belt and cut her own hand. Valari gasped. "What are you doing?" Zara pressed her bleeding hand against the scanner. The machine buzzed, then a click. The door slid open, slowly and loud. Inside, the room glowed with blue light. It looked untouched, like time had frozen inside. Monitors covered the walls. A giant holographic map hovered above the center. Lines traced the earth, but the continents were cracked. Broken, changed. "This is a command center," Valari whispered. Zara helped her to a chair. Valari connected her data chip to one of the terminals. The screen lit up, lines of human code appearing. She translated slowly. "Welcome to Signal. Room 4, she read. "Status, Earthfall complete. Project Revenant active." Then, another alert. "Warning. Vault breach, level 2. Creature mobile. Hunting pattern detected." Zara clenched her fists. "It's coming," she said. Valari nodded, trying not to panic. "But this room can control parts of the base," she said. "We can lock doors, maybe trap it." Zara looked at the blinking map. "Then do it," she said, "before it finds us." Valari's fingers moved fast across the console. The map zoomed into the lower level, the vault. Red lines marked broken doors. One section still green. "Chamber Delta. I can lead it there," Valari said. "Seal it inside, but we need power." Zara turned her head toward a side door labeled Core Access. "I'll go," she said. Valari grabbed her arm. "It's dangerous." Zara looked at her. "So is staying." Then she handed Valari her pipe. "Just in case," she said. Valari gave a weak smile. "Be quick." Zara ran into the side hallway. It was darker here. Cool mist covered the floor like fog. Pipes hissed and clicked around her. She followed the signs. "Core this way," as she moved. A strange sound echoed through the walls. A low growl, followed by fast, heavy footsteps. The creature was hunting again. Zara moved faster. She reached a giant metal door. The sign said, "Reactor room, keep out." She pushed it open. Inside, a large machine spun with slow blue light. This was Earth tech, pure human power, the kind that had terrified the galaxy. Zara stepped toward the console. Dust covered everything. She wiped the main panel and saw it. Primary power offline, manual. Start required. A lever stood beside the console. Zara grabbed it and pulled hard. Sparks flew. The floor shook. Then, light, The reactor began to glow brighter. One by one, systems powered up. Heat returned to the air. The base was alive again, back in the signal. Valari smiled. She did it. She whispered. She touched the control screen. Targeting Chamber Delta, she rerouted doors, turned on traps, activated lasers, then spoke softly into the mic. Zara, the trap is ready, but there was no reply, just silence, then static, then a scream, not Zara's, the creature. Zara's voice followed, shaky but strong. I'm okay. It saw me, I ran. I think it's following. Valari breathed in relief. Zara ran back through the tunnels. The thing close behind, its feet smashed. The metal floor, its breath echoed like fire. Zara turned corners, climbed ladders, ducked under beams. She saw the door to Chamber Delta and jumped inside. Now? She yelled. Valari pressed the button. The doors slammed shut. Red lights flashed. Gas filled the chamber, then silence. Zara lay on the floor, breathing hard. The creature slammed against the walls inside, but it was trapped. For now, she stood. Slowly, her voice calm but firm. That wasn't just a monster, she said through the mic. That was a weapon. A human weapon. Valari nodded from the control room. She had seen its brainwaves. It was thinking, learning, remembering. Zara walked back through the quiet hallway. Every step echoed like thunder. She had questions now, about Earth, about humanity. About what else might be sleeping beneath the surface. When she returned to Valari, they didn't speak. They just looked at each other. They had survived. But they had also woken something far bigger and far more dangerous. Valari sat quietly in the signal room. Her fingers hovered above the screen, outside the locked door. The monster still growled in the chamber. It slammed its body into the walls now and then. Testing the strength of its prison, Zara stood near the entrance. Pipe back in her hands. She was silent, her eyes scanning every corner but her thoughts. We're not here. They were stuck in something Lewis said earlier. Project Revenant was not just a weapon. He had said it was a mirror. Zara didn't know what that meant then. But now she was starting to understand. Valari tapped a file marked Revenant Core Files. It asked for a password. She used the data she had copied from Lewis's old chip. The screen opened. Thousands of documents, images, voice logs appeared. Valari gasped. This isn't just military data, she said. It's everything. Zara walked over. What do you see? Valari clicked on one video log. A human woman appeared, her face pale, eyes tired. She wore a white lab coat. Her voice was calm but sad. Dr. Evelyn Ray, Chief Bioengineer, Earth Defense Protocol. If you're seeing this, we failed. Project Revenant was our last hope. We tried to copy human emotion, human instinct, human rage. We wanted something that could survive anything. But what we created didn't just survive, remembered. Zara's hands tightened on the table. Valari clicked to another file. A diagram showed a brain, not alien, not robot, human, but changed. They enhanced the human brain, Valari whispered, gave it perfect memory, perfect muscle control. No fear, no doubt. Zara frowned. That thing we trapped. It's not just a beast. Valari nodded slowly. It's still human. Somewhere inside, the lights flickered. Another alert came on screen. Warning, subject O brain activity increasing. Secondary defense layer recommended. Zara stepped away from the console. We need to destroy it, she said. Or it will get out. Valari looked unsure. Maybe we can shut it down using the mainframe. Zara paused, then nodded. Do it. Valari began pulling files from the core, looking for access codes. She opened a folder marked Emotional Stim Triggers. Inside were strange files. Sound, patterns, images, music, each file marked with words like grief, loss, hope, fire, rain. This is how they trained it. Valari said they taught it pain, over and over again. Zara clenched her jaw, and then they locked it away. Suddenly, one video file opened by itself, the screen filled with fire. Cities burning, ships crashing. Then came the voice of a human child, crying, then silence. Then the monster's voice. From the chamber, I remember. Valari froze. It's in the system. Zara grabbed her by the arm, shut it down. Valari typed fast, pulling cables, cutting links. But it was too late. The lights turned red. Alarms screamed. The chamber door unlocked by itself. The creature stepped into the hallway, slow, calm. Its eyes were not glowing now. They were dark, watching. It spoke again. Why did you leave me there? Zara raised her pipe. Valari pulled a shock weapon from the wall. But the creature didn't run. It just stared. Zara stepped forward. You're not just a weapon, she said. You're a memory. The creature tilted its head. You speak. Like her, it said, the woman from the lab. Valari pulled up a voice file. She played it. It was Dr. Evelyn Ray again, Subject 0. If you can hear me, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to make you this way. You were supposed to protect us, but we became the thing we feared. The creature closed its eyes. Its body began to shake. Zara whispered. It's remembering. Valari saw a chance. She ran to the console and activated neural stim mode. A wave of sound filled the hallway. Human voices, laughter, crying, music. The creature screamed. Zara shouted, "Trap it again, now." Valari locked the system. The door sealed once more. Inside, the creature fell to its knees, holding its head, not in pain, in sorrow. Zara stood by the glass. She looked at the broken figure inside and said softly, "You were never a monster. You were just." To human, the base was quiet again. Too quiet. Only the soft hum of machines and the faint echo of distant power could be heard. Zara sat on the floor just outside the sealed chamber, staring through the reinforced glass. Inside, the creature remained still, kneeling, unmoving, like a statue made of pain. Valari stood at a nearby console, her hands trembling. She had seen many things in her time, but never anything like this. That thing, she whispered. It remembers pain like it's alive. Zara nodded. It is alive, she said. But it's not free, and we're not safe. Valari turned to face her. It didn't attack us this time. It didn't even try. Zara didn't answer. Her mind was elsewhere, deep in thought. What was humanity really trying to build here? And why bury it under earth like a secret tomb? Then the lights flickered. Only for a second, but it was enough. Valari checked the systems. We're losing power from the lower levels. That's not possible, she said, typing faster. The reactor was fully charged. Zara stood up quickly. Something's draining it. She walked toward the map screen. Lines on the base layout were turning yellow. Then red, not from damage, from motion. Something else is moving. Valari said quietly. Zara stared at her. Another one? Valari hesitated, then nodded slowly. Maybe not like Subject 0, but yes. There's another life form awake. Zara turned to the chamber. The creature inside was still, but its eyes were open, and it was watching them. Then it spoke again. Softly, "It's not me." Zara stepped closer to the glass. "What do you mean?" The creature looked toward the dark hallway. "It's older," it whispered, "darker. It doesn't remember pain. It enjoys it." Valari gasped. She pulled up more hidden files from the system. One folder blinked red, locked. Under deep encryption, Zara leaned over her shoulder. "What is that?" Valari tried to open it. The screen flashed a warning. Classified, Subject 9, do not engage, observe only. They looked at each other. Zara clenched her fists. "We've already engaged," she said. A loud crash echoed through the walls. Metal groaned, air ducts shook, lights flickered again, but this time they didn't return. Darkness swallowed the corridor outside the signal room. Valari activated emergency lights. A soft red glow lit up the room. Zara turned toward the hallway. A key. She could feel something watching, not from the front, from above. She looked up. The ceiling vent was open, dripping black liquid. Something had crawled through there. Valari backed away from the wall. She pointed at the map. It's in the vent system. It's heading toward Sector 3. The cryo chambers. Zara narrowed her eyes. That's where the human stasis pods were stored. Valari nodded. Some may still be intact. Whatever this thing is. It might be feeding. They couldn't wait. Zara grabbed a pulse rifle from the weapon rack. She handed a shock blade to Valari. We go together, she said. Valari nodded, scared but ready, as they entered the hallway. The air changed. It felt thicker, heavier, and it smelled like something rotting. Zara held the rifle tight, her finger near the trigger. They followed the red emergency lights deeper into the base. The walls were cracked, some covered in black slime. The silence felt alive. Then a whisper, but not in any language they knew. It was soft, strange, like broken wind through bone. They reached Cryo Sector 3. The doors were open. Inside, shattered stasis pods lay in pieces. Human remains scattered across the floor. Valari covered her mouth. Something tore them open. She said. Zara walked slowly through the room. A noise stopped her, a soft tapping behind a row of tanks. She raised her rifle. Come out, she said. Nothing moved. Then a shadow leaped from the ceiling, long limbs, stretched fingers, empty eyes. Zara fired. The pulse beam lit the room. The thing dodged unnaturally fast, climbing the walls like an insect. Valari slashed at it as it landed. Cutting its side, it shrieked, not like Subject Zero. Not human at all. It moved without thought, just hunger. Zara fired again. Hitting its chest, it stumbled, then hissed, disappearing into the shadows again. It's not like the other, Valari gasped. Zara nodded. This one is pure instinct. Suddenly, there comes crackled, a voice broken, mechanical. It was Subject Zero speaking from the signal room speaker. You can't kill it, only I can. Zara and Valari froze. Why help us? Valari asked, speaking into her wrist device. The creature's voice replied. Because it's the only thing I fear. Asterisk. The door to the signal room slammed shut behind them. Zara and Valari stood in silence, covered in sweat and dust, behind them. Blood from the last encounter dripped from Zara's blade. They had barely escaped the creature in the cryo sector. The red lights pulsed like a heartbeat on the other side of the room. Subject Zero stood behind the reinforced glass. Its eyes glowed faintly now, not white, not red, something in between. It stared at them like a soldier waiting for orders. You said you could kill it, Zara said, walking toward the glass. The creature tilted its head. Yes, it replied. Valari stepped forward. But how? Subject Zero raised its hand and pointed at the back wall of the room. A metal panel slid open on its own, revealing an elevator they hadn't seen before. There's a weapon below, it said, made for me, but I never got to use it. Zara looked at Valari. They both knew it was a risk, but it was their only chance. They entered the elevator, the doors shut, and it dropped down in silence. Cold wind blew up through the shaft, carrying the scent of old metal and deep earth. After a minute, the doors opened. Before them stood a large chamber. Smooth walls, silver floors, and glowing white lights. At the center was a pod shaped like a human body. Floating above a platform, it pulsed with energy, humming softly. Like it was breathing, Zara stepped closer. Her footsteps echoed like thunder. A screen beside the pod lit up. Welcome. User recognized neural match detected. Valari looked surprised. "It knows you." Zara reached out, her hand trembling. "I'm not human," she whispered. But the machine didn't care. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a suit, not armor, not cloth. It looked alive, like muscle and metal combined. A human skull symbol glowed at the chest. Zara touched it, and the suit crawled up her arm, then her back. It wrapped around her like it belonged. She gasped as energy rushed into her mind. Memories, not hers, flooded her thoughts. Explosions, screams, battlefields, music, a child's laughter. Fire, snow, silence, human memories. Valari stepped back. "Are you okay?" Zara's eyes opened. They were glowing now, like the suit itself. "Yes," she said slowly. "I feel everything." A screen blinked on the wall, showing the base map. The creature, the dark one, was crawling through the ventilation. Again, heading for them, Valari activated the door lock. But it wouldn't stop that thing for long. Subject Zero's voice came through the comm again. "It fears fire and light. Use the reactor's upper core. Draw it in." Zara nodded. She and Valari ran back to the elevator and rose to the main floor. The suit on Zara adjusted to her every move, faster, stronger, silent. She didn't feel tired anymore. She felt like a weapon. They reached the reactor hall. Zara leaped across the railing. Landing in front of the control hub, Valari followed. Fingers dancing across the console. "I'll overcharge the core," she said. "But it will blow the whole chamber." Zara looked up at the dark ceiling. "That's fine," she said. "Just make sure it's inside when it happens." The lights turned blue. Power surged through the base. Vents hissed. Floors rattled. The ceiling cracked. Then the scream came, long and sharp, like metal tearing. The dark creature dropped into the chamber. Long arms, twitching legs, a jaw that split sideways. It saw Zara and roared. Then it charged. Zara ran straight toward it. She ducked under its claws, punched its ribs, the suit reacting with power. A burst of energy lit the air. The creature flew back, slammed into a wall, then came again. Valari shouted from the console. "Core reaching 90%. Get out!" Zara didn't answer. She kept fighting, fist to claw, spark to flesh, rage to shadow. The suit lit brighter with every strike. She could feel the suit remembering 2 old fights. Old pain, old fire. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every human who never got the chance. The creature grabbed her by the leg, tried to slam her down. But Zara twisted midair and blasted it with energy from her palm. It fell, screeching, limbs shaking, eyes flashing. "Valari!" screamed Zara. "Now!" Zara jumped back to war, the center of the core. The creature followed. The suit opened a pulse cannon from her shoulder. She fired, hitting the ceiling, collapsing part of it, trapping the beast inside the chamber. Valari hit the last button. Reactor overload detonation in 10 seconds. Zara sprinted toward the edge. She dove just as the door slammed behind her. Then light fire filled the chamber. Heat shook the base. Everything went white. Then dark. When it cleared, Zara was lying on the floor, the suit smoking. Valari ran to her, tears in her eyes. "You did it," she said. Zara opened her eyes. Slowly, "No," she whispered. "We did." Asterisk smoke drifted through the broken halls of the base. Pipes hissed softly. Walls groaned. Sparks fell like fireflies. Zara sat against a cracked wall. The human suit still wrapped around her like second skin. The battle was over, but the silence after it felt louder than the war. Valari walked carefully through the rubble. Holding a small toolkit, she had patched the systems as best she could. The lights were flickering back to life. The reactor had survived barely, but the dark creature was gone. Burned, buried under stone and heat, they had won. But the cost still hung in the air. Valari sat down beside Zara. She looked at her friend's face, tired but calm. "You should rest," she said gently. Zara shook her head slowly. "I can't," she whispered. "Not yet." The two women sat in silence. The base, once filled with danger, now felt like a grave. Not just for machines, but for memories. A soft chime rang across the control room. A signal. Valari rushed to the console. The screen was cracked, but still alive. A blinking dot pulsed near the top right corner. "Someone's listening," Valari said, eyes wide. Zara stood slowly, walking toward the screen. "What do you mean?" Valari pointed at the data line. "It's not a broadcast, it's a reply. Someone received our signal." Zara stared at the coordinates. It was deep space, not her world, not Valaris. It was somewhere far beyond, somewhere human. Suddenly, a familiar voice crackled through the speaker. Broken, weak, but real. "This is Commander Rhodes. If you can hear this, Earth is not alone." Valari covered her mouth in shock. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. "How?" she whispered. "I thought they were all gone," the voice continued. "We've been hiding, waiting for the signal. If you found this, if you survived. We are coming home." The screen went black again. Zara turned away slowly. Valari looked at her. "What now?" Zara walked toward the old human flag on the wall. Burned, faded, but still standing. She pulled it down gently, folding it in her hands. "Now," she said, "we prepare." The base still had power. The maps showed other bunkers, other sites still buried in the ruins of Earth. There could be more technology, more secrets, more survivors. Zara looked at the suit wrapped around her body. It pulsed softly, not with energy, but with a heartbeat. It had chosen her, and she had accepted not just as a fighter, but as a bridge between the species. Valari turned toward the old entrance shaft. She pressed a button and the doors groaned open. Revealing the gray sky above, clouds covered the sun. But light still broke through. Earth was not dead, just waiting. They climbed the long tunnel back to the surface. Step by step, breath by breath. When they emerged, the wind hit their faces. Clean, cold, real. Zara looked at the sky. She hadn't seen it since the crash. Valari smiled beside her. For the first time in days, there was no alarm, no monster, no death. Just wind, sky, and silence. In the distance, trees had begun to grow. Again, nature was returning, slow but strong. Valari activated a beacon on her wrist. It pulsed once, sending their coordinates into the stars. A message. Earth lives. Zara walked to the edge of a broken cliff. Below, the rusted remains of human cities slept in silence. But now, the silence felt different. Not empty, not forgotten, just waiting to begin again. Valari sat down and opened her datapad. She began to record. "Log entry 1, she said. 2 survivors found the last human base. They uncovered what was lost. They fought the past and awakened the future." Zara looked at her and smiled slightly. "And now?" Valari looked up. "We build," she said. Zara nodded. "And if they return?" Valari's eyes flashed with fire. "We won't be the ones running behind them." The wind carried the sound of metal shifting. A small access hatch creaked open from the shadows. Something stepped out. Small, unsure, blinking. A human child, dirty. Scared, but alive, Zara ran to them. Kneeling. "Where did you come from?" she asked gently. The child pointed toward the mountains. "Others," he said, "sleeping." Valari stared in shock. "They're not all gone," she whispered. Zara held the child's hand. "No," she said softly. "They were just waiting for someone to wake them." The sky above cracked open with a golden ray of sunlight. And far in space, the signal kept blinking, over and over again.